All right, coming up next in News Talk, year-end tax saving tips.
Joanne Golden, a local CPA, is here to talk about what you need to do now, including the perfect time to give to charities.
Welcome back to News Talk for this half hour, joined by Joanne Golden once again. Believe it or not, we're talking tax time. Usually we're late March, we're in Joanne Golden mode, but a good time now to talk about it because it's time, you know, after the first of the year, you really start thinking about filing your taxes. So now's the time to get organized, among other things.
That's right, to plan.
Right.
Really, one of the things that you want to do is get organized. Get all of your information together. What have you earned this year? What kind of deductions might you expect? And what you're going to want to do is almost develop a format, a tax return, in a sense, so that you know what your liability might be in April if you're going to owe money. I think a lot of people really don't think about the fact that they might owe money at the end of the year.
Right, and so you don't want to wait until, you know, March 28th and say, oh no, now I've got to pay by April 15th. Whereas if you find that out, you know, February 1st, you have a little bit of leeway at least.
That's exactly right. So getting organized is really good. The other thing is that if your income, particularly if you're a two-income earner family, and where if you've got a lot of itemized deductions, you may fall into what's called AMT, alternative minimum tax.
Right.
That's another taxing system that our government has. It's an extra tax that they make you pay. Not a lot of people fall into it, but in New York State, 8% of the taxpayers fall into it. So if you are a two-earner family that, you know, is earning over $100,000, you probably want to take a look at that and do that calculation also. Take that Form 6251 and run the numbers.
All right, we've got some tips listed for you. We already talked about getting organized and considering the AMT. Next up, accelerate your income or postpone till 2012. What's that all about?
Well, you know, if you might be expecting a bonus at the end of the year, if you're lucky enough to be expecting the bonus, you know, and it's going to put you into a higher income tax bracket, you might want to ask your boss if you can take the bonus next year. Or if you're in business and you have a cash basis for your taxable, for your business, you might be able to do your billing next year rather than this year. So you may have ways of postponing income. However, you got to think about the fact that next year the tax rates might be a little bit higher.
Right.
And
so
putting it into next year might not be good.
Right.
So you also want to look at your expenses and see if you're in business, should you take more expenses this year? And also, as just an individual, if you have itemized deductions, should you give more charitable donations at the end of this year?
Right, and I was say that's one of our final tips. Consider additional charitable giving. And again, what's tough about this is when people are spending most of their money on other items at the end of the year. But you might really, I mean, you should consider charitable giving anyway. But there's some tax pluses if you do it right at the end of the year.
Right, exactly, and charitable giving is not affected by AMT, so that's a good thing.
Okay.
So if you're a higher income earner, it's a kind of a good thing to do. And the other thing about charitable giving is it is a feel-good thing at this time of the year. So one of the other things is if you haven't taken your IRA distribution, we have so many people who are in that situation here who have IRAs who must take, if they're over 70 and a half, a required minimum distribution, and they want to give a donation, they could give that donation directly from their IRA, not take the income and not have to pay tax on that, and
income.
Still get and be able to give that donation.
So that's for folks that are over 70 and a half.
That's correct.
Saying, you have to draw down part of that IRA.
That's right.
Instead of drawing it down to you personally into a checking account or whatever. Go automatically from the IRA to the charity, and actually from a tax standpoint, you're not getting penalized for being taxed on the income, but then the charity's getting the money, and you're getting a bonus, so to speak, for as far as your itemized deductions are concerned.
Right, and even if you're not an itemizer, you can do that.
Right, because it's a tax deductible donation.
Yes, and you still get your standard deduction as a senior.
Okay, and really quick, we want to mention New York State marriage rules.
Oh, interesting. Make sure, we have these new rules, and for same-sex marriage, and New York State allows you to file jointly
Right.
for same-sex marriage, but the federal government is not. So you have to file 2 different kinds of returns. One, you have to file 2 separate returns for the federal government, but if you're married this year, you can file a joint return with your spouse.
And that's very important, especially if you're doing your own taxes.
That's right.
You know, licensed tax preparers will know that and have that, but if you're going to do taxes on your own, and it, you know, some people like to do that on their own and say it's easy, keep that in mind for same-sex couples. Federal, 2 separate returns. State, you can do a joint return.
That's
so
correct.
Keep that in mind. Of
Yeah.
course, there are also tax implications for any married couple for filing jointly or separately.
That's
but,
right.
That's another show.
That's another the whole discussion.
All right, sounds great. Again, any of those tips, where folks can find that online, or if they're concerned about
Online, at the New York State Society of Certified Public Accountants, nysscpa.org.
Okay.
The IRS has wonderful information, and New York State has a really good website too.
All right, good advice. Joanne Golden, thanks so much, and we'll
Thank
see you
you,
again in the
Steve.
next few weeks.
Yeah.
Adam's back with a storm tracker forecast right after this.